moments in history when everything disappears. Armies, cities, entire civilizations vanish without leaving a trace. But very few stories resemble what happened here. A story of an army, one of the greatest forces of the ancient world, that marched into the desert and never returned. This is the mystery of the lost army of Cambyses, a desert that swallowed 50,000 men and kept them silent for more than 2,000 years. Before we enter the desert, we need to step back to Persia, to a time when the Achaemenid Empire was rising toward unmatched power. After the death of Cyrus the Great, his son Cambyses II became the ruler, a young king, ambitious, determined to continue his father's legacy. He wanted Egypt not just to conquer it, but to claim it as a jewel under the Persian throne. And Egypt resisted. For Cambyses, that was not just defiance, it was personal. So in 525 BCE, he marched his forces into the Nile Delta. The battles didn't last long. Egypt fell, and Cambyses became pharaoh, a foreign king sitting on the throne of the two lands. But for him, victory was not enough. He saw enemies everywhere, inside Egypt and beyond it. And one of these enemies, in his eyes, were the priests of the Siwa oasis. Deep in the western desert lies a small oasis called Siwa. In it stood an ancient temple dedicated to Amun, the god whose oracle was believed to reveal truth and divine judgment. Cambyses sent a delegation to receive Amun's blessing, a sign that his rule over Egypt was legitimate. But what he heard angered him. Ancient accounts claim the oracle refused to acknowledge his kingship. For a king who believed he was chosen by heaven, this was an insult that had to be erased. So Cambyses issued an order: send an army to Siwa, destroy the temple, punish everyone who defies me. An entire army, 50,000 soldiers, hundreds of camels, engineers, guides, officers, and cavalry, all of them marched to carry out the king's anger. So this is where the mystery begins. The army left Thebes, heading west, a long, difficult journey across a land the Persians barely understood. The Greek historian Herodotus described the march: columns stretching across the horizon, dust rising behind them, men walking under a sun that never forgives. They reached the first oasis, rested, refilled their water, and then they continued. After this point, there is nothing. No written record, no survivors, no weapons, no bones. Nothing. It was as if the desert had erased them. For centuries, scholars tried to explain the disappearance, and several theories emerged, each one possible, none proven. Theory 1. The deadly sandstorm. Some ancient accounts describe a massive sandstorm that struck the army mid-march. Not a normal storm, but the kind that darkens the sky and buries everything beneath it. A storm strong enough to swallow men, camels, and metal in a single day. In the western desert, storms like this are rare, but not impossible. If a wall of sand hit an army standing still, it could bury thousands. But then comes the question: where are the remains? The desert preserves things for millennia. Yet we found nothing. The sandstorm theory answers much, but not enough. Your theory 2, the betrayal of the guide. Other scholars believe the army relied on a desert guide, a local who knew the routes, but perhaps that man was loyal to the priests of Amun. He may have led the army deeper into the desert, into a region with no water, no shade, no way out. When the soldiers were completely lost, the guide simply left them. A slow death, not sudden. Heat, thirst, exhaustion, until no one remained. A logical theory. But again, where are the traces? Even a dying army leaves something behind. Theory 3. The army never reached the desert. Some modern historians suggest the army may not have entered the desert at all. Maybe the reports were exaggerated. Maybe the army returned, defeated, unrecorded. Maybe it was never 50,000 men. But this theory clashes with multiple ancient accounts: Persian, Egyptian, and Greek. Too many sources mention the expedition. Its disappearance was real. The 20th century brought new attempts to solve the mystery. Archaeologists from around the world searched the western desert. In 1936, 2 Italian researchers claimed they found human bones, metal fragments, arrowheads, and said they belonged to Cambyses' army. The news shocked the archaeological world, but when experts returned to the site, everything was gone. No bones, no metal, nothing. Some accused the researchers of fabrication. Others believed the desert shifted again and buried the remains deeper. In recent decades, satellite imaging has been used to scan the desert for unusual formations, lines beneath the sand, shapes that might be mass graves or buried camps. Several suspicious zones were identified, but no conclusive evidence has emerged. The desert remains silent. This isn't just a lost army. It's a reminder. History is full of gaps, events erased, stories untold, knowledge buried. The disappearance of Cambyses' army shows how fragile human memory can be. If 50,000 men could vanish, what else have we never known? Civilizations rise and fall, but the desert does not record. It erases. After all the research, after all the theories, the confirmed facts are few. A large Persian army was sent towards Siwa. It was ordered to destroy the Oracle of Amun. It entered the western desert. It disappeared completely. No artifacts, no bodies, no weapons. Just stories and silence. To this day, no one can answer the ultimate question: how can the desert swallow 50,000 men without leaving a single trace? Perhaps the answer lies somewhere under the waves of sand. Perhaps the wind will one day shift and reveal a sword, a shield, a fragment of armor that tells the truth. Or perhaps the desert chooses what to hide and what to reveal. And the lost army of Cambyses is one of the secrets it refuses to surrender. The army that marched in and never walked out. Some mysteries are not meant to be solved. They are meant to remind us of what history can lose.